Namaste, my name is Dr. Anita Priyadarshini. I am Associate Professor at the Staff Training and Research Institute of Distance Education at the Indira Gandhi National Open University. Welcome to this session on MDE 518 Educational Communication Technologies. This course is a part of the Masters in Distance Education program being offered by STRIDE. Today, we are going to take up the session on communication technology. Previously, we have spoken about communication, educational communication, types of communication, and also about the ways in which communication takes place. In this session, let us now talk about communication networks. Before we go into the depth of the session, let me just take a moment to introduce the learning outcomes of this session. It is hoped that after you finish this video session, you will be able to explain the concept of network, discuss the developments of communication technology and networks, and also describe the different factors that affect the growth of communication networks. As you probably know, this course of Masters in Distance Education is all about use of technologies for teaching and learning in education. Let me begin by revisiting communication and educational communication. As you probably have already read in your courseware and also heard about, that communication is basically nothing but the exchange between two people or two persons. It is the exchange of ideas, it is the exchange of thoughts, views, opinions, and informations. There are two parties, one is the sender and one is the receiver. And therefore, when there is an exchange of ideas between the sender and the receiver, it is known as communication. Communication has very many functions, and these include giving information, passing on information to each other. It is also a way in which socialization takes place, and similarly, it is a means by which people are motivated, and most importantly for us, especially in distance education, communication is a way in which education takes place. It is also very, very important that communication through entertainment also takes place. We have movies, we have so many other ways in which communication takes place through entertainment. As far as educational communication is concerned, it concerns itself with the process in which teaching learning takes place, and that is how teachers communicate with learners, the sender being the teacher and the receiver being the learner. And it is a means by which there is interaction to enhance knowledge, to enhance competencies, skills, change attitudes, teach values, and make this society into a more interactive and participatory society. Having said that, let us now come to the main issue, which is that of communication networks. I'm sure you must be knowing the meaning of network. Today, networking is a word which is used very, very often. But in terms of technology, when we speak about technology, communication network implies that there is a collection of terminals, links, nodes, which when they are connected together enable communication, telecommunication to take place between the users of these terminals. Therefore, you will see that when we are talking about a network, it is also multiple technologies which are being used to transmit messages from one point to the other, using these links, using these nodes by which messages, information is taking place. And again, when we are talking about a network, it is a communication which is possible through the use of perhaps wire. Today, of course, we have wireless technologies, but initially it was wire. There is also radio, waves, and satellite, and it is an ever changing, fast moving world by which communication is taking place between the sender and the receiver. It is also important to understand that communication has different technologies which are being used. It could be the radio, and we will talk about these in a little while also. It could be the radio, it could be television, it could be computer networks, again satellites, internet, World Wide Web, and so on. Let us talk about the historical development of communication technology. And as you probably know, that there are different ways in which communication takes place. In fact, communication is really a human and social process. Back in time, in primitive times, human beings used signs and sounds to communicate with each other. There are different evidences which are historic evidences of primitive caves, paintings, of inscriptions, of writings that are available today in different parts of the world, whether it is from the Indus Valley civilization or the Sumerian civilization or the Egyptian pyramids which have heliographs on them, or even in South America you have the civilizations of the Incas which tell us their own stories, which communicate to us how people lived, how they behaved, and what were their beliefs and values at that time. Subsequently, signs and sounds gave way to language, and these languages were again seen across periods of time in the form of inscriptions, in the form of writings, in the form of paper, in different forms by which people have given voice and through writing to their ideas and their thoughts. To cut a long story short, the printing press came up somewhere in the mid of 1455, and then communication began to take place through in a sense it was like a mass media which was taking place. And the postal system grew from not the postal system as the way we know it, but it began with pigeons being flown, with messengers, human messengers taking place, as well as in the US there was the Pony Express, which was transporting communication, letters, documents from one part of the country to the other. In 1800s, the telegraph, which is the Morse code, took place, and the Morse code, for those of you who may not know about it, Morse code is a system by which dots and dashes are used to communicate, to make a language through Morse code. In addition to that, Morse code was also used by maritime shippers and in aviation. In 1876, the telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell, and this was a very, very major development in the world of technology. Today we take telecommunications through telephones as a part of our life, but this was a life-changing moment when the telephone was invented. This was followed by the radio and the wireless telegraph. The names of Marconi are well known to all. In the 1930s, television began, by which the radio as well as motion pictures were visible as a means of communication. And in our lifetimes, computers, integrated circuits, floppy disks, these are all ways by which the entire communication has changed and the world has changed. The World Wide Web and the internet has changed the way in which human beings act, behave, and communicate with each other. In the 1980s, the cellular phones were first initiated. Cellular phones have today changed all spheres of our lives. In education, we see a lot of teaching and learning taking place through cellular phones, through mobile phones. And of course, we have seen that in recent times, following the COVID, in 2020, it is online learning through the use of internet which has become the means of not just education, but industry, of health, of so many things. It has been the backbone by which communication has taken place. And let me also say that communication is continuing. There are very fast moving changes that are taking place in the world of telecommunications, and the speed at which the change is taking place is very, very fast and quick. I would now like to spend a little time speaking about the factors that influence the growth of communication. As you will know that there are very many factors. These could be the political factors, they could be economic factors, they could be cultural reasons which influence the growth of communication and technology. It could also be social and educational reasons which are influencing this kind of technologies. Let us take each of these one by one. The most important factor in the growth of telecommunications and therefore communication in a country is political factors. Political factors implies that do the policy makers have a commitment to the growth of development? How strong is their commitment? Because when we look at it, development and communication and technology are very closely related. Do the policymakers and the influencers have the necessary will to do it? What is political will? Political will basically implies that are they willing to take action as per the desired outcomes? Are they looking forward to making legislation which will ensure that those outcomes are obtained and that development takes place? So whether it is, you will see that when you look at education, the right to education, the act of right to information, these are all legislations which have come about because of the political will to ensure that universalization of education as well as transparency in government functioning takes place. So in the same way, there are so many, in recent years, there are so many actions which have been taken place by the government in India so that a major thrust is made for ensuring that telecommunication takes place and that technology and the use of technology becomes easier and more accessible for all citizens of the country. In recent times, the emphasis on e-governance has been immense, and that is why many policies have been formulated so that governance in all parts and all aspects of functioning becomes easier and becomes more affordable. Therefore, when we talk about growth of communication, it is very important that the attitude of the policy makers and those who are making policy is positive and that they are eager to take forward this whole idea of growth of communication. And when that is certain, then only laws and legal support is provided so that these activities can take place smoothly and efficiently. Having said that, now let us see what are the social factors. In any country, the society, the community, the people, there is a way in which they live, there is a way in which they behave. Civilizations are witness to the fact that thoughts, actions lead to actions, and therefore understanding the social structure, understanding the state of development of the country are very important. In the same way, when we are talking about the growth of communication technology, it is necessary to understand what are the factors that are influencing this growth. These could be as to whether the country is developed, is it a developing country or is it underdeveloped. In the case of developing countries, we also look at factors such as the rural population, how much of the country is still in a rural state or in an urban state. What is the rural-urban divide in the country? What are the levels of poverty in the country? What are the means by which poverty elevation is taking place? Because it is necessary to understand that most important is food security is the most important aspect, and after that all other factors come in. And therefore, when a country is able to feed its population, then only it can go about in terms of making sure that there are other means of, whether it is technology or any other development which is taking place. It is also necessary to understand that what is the level of education, because education is a very important part in the growth of technology. There were also some preconceived notions by which it was felt that technology is only meant for a particular group of people. But we see today that technology cuts across all groups of people, all social structures, all people, whether it is rural or urban, or whether it is rich or those who cannot afford, who are poor, but it is actually cuts across all levels. And therefore, whether it is social biases, even those have been smashed by technology. Earlier on, there was a feeling that girls can't do maths, or technology is for boys. Even today, those have been completely turned on their head because of the vast use of technology which has taken place. Look at the economic factors. Economic factors greatly influence the growth of technology, largely because it is felt that technology must increase employment, it must lead to growth of industry, and it must help people to elevate their living standards. I must also say that there was a time when there was a fear of technology. When initially in the 80s computers were being brought in, many people feared that their jobs would get taken, that the machines would take over their job and their livelihood would go away. And today we are at a time where we cannot think without computers or our cell phones. All people, irrespective of strata of society, are comfortable using their cell phones. Even those who cannot read and write can still manage to use a cell phone. And therefore, when we talk about the economic factors, it is actually very necessary to understand that it is hoped that the financial status of the society will improve, and there will be creation of wealth through greater use of technology. In terms of, perhaps an important part is in terms of the use of technology to invest in manufacturing capabilities. When we are talking about better technology for manufacturing, it means it should be more efficient rather than the existing technology. It should be able to create better productivity, higher productivity at a lesser cost. And therefore, we find that there is a need to ensure that different types of technologies are used, whether it is broadband connectivity, whether it is the availability of a skilled workflows. These are all important factors that ensure that there is growth of technology. Let me also say that a skilled workforce is extremely important, because even if you have a machine but you do not have the capacity to run the machine, to operate the machine, then it is of not much use. Therefore, training and technology usage go hand in hand. And when that happens, then we find that it also leads to the growth of another industry, whether it is a software industry or the hardware industry. It creates more jobs, and therefore technology doesn't reduce jobs. In fact, it creates much more jobs and creates employment for people. When we are talking about the growth of technology, the cost factor is also very important. It's important because government has to invest in technology, and when that technology goes back into the market, it should be affordable for the common persons, and therefore cost efficiency of technology is extremely important to make sure that more and more people become technology friendly and are able to use it. The growth of technology is also influenced by cultural factors. What are we as a society, as a community, and as a civilization? What are our beliefs and what are our attitudes? Do we engage with new innovative technologies faster? You will see that there are some countries like Japan, like Korea, and other countries of the East where technology has overtaken at a very fast pace. And these are, in contrast, there are developing countries where technology is moving ahead at a slower pace. This shows that there is cultural differences in the use and in the growth of technologies in different countries because of the values and beliefs of the people who are residing there. It is also seen that at times people are resistant to change. They are happy doing things the way they were doing. They do not want to change. And these are all cultural factors which make sure that whether people are going to take to a particular technology or reject it, or will they hesitate to do it. In many places we find that indigenous innovation comes naturally to people. And therefore, when we are talking about technology also, such communities, such societies make use of technology at a much faster pace. And therefore, when we are talking about technology, the culture of the country, the culture of the society is also very necessary. When we are borrowing technology from other countries, that also it has to be kept in mind whether the culture of that country is also suitable to your country. Because when we are using something, it is not possible to use borrowed things. It has to be integrated into the culture of the country. For instance, when you see cars which are being made in some European countries, the driving is on a different side because they have a right hand mechanism for driving. The wheel is on the other side. So therefore, if that doesn't fit in with our way of driving, then that technology will not suit us. It has to be made suitable, country friendly, customized technology so that it can be used by the people of a particular society. Yet another aspect is that of technological factors. And these technological factors are very important because at the end of the day, the person who has to use the technology must be able to understand it and have an ownership of that technology. And therefore, when we talk about the appropriateness of technology, that is important. And that appropriateness implies that you and I who are going to use the technology must feel comfortable with it. In terms of accessibility also, the technologies should be accessible. There was a time in the 90s when there was an immense laying out of cables, there was an immense effort to make sure that the technology through, whether it was through optical fibers or whether it was through other cables, it was able to reach the last person. And therefore, accessible technology is necessary for the growth of communication technology. It's the same way, if a person cannot handle the technology, there is no skilled manpower or human resources to take care of the technologies, then those operations are not possible. Therefore, training and capacity building, as I have already said, are very important to make sure that technology grows and is used often. And maintenance again has to take place, because if you buy a particular item which is a technological tool and it needs repairs, then there must be enough people who are able to maintain the technology and to make sure that it is in operational condition and in good use, and most importantly, therefore is cost efficient to that. We are still not in the use and throw mindset, and therefore whatever technology is bought or used should be long lasting and value for money. When we talk about educational factors, when we talk about education, we talk about communication in education. It is felt that access, equity and inclusion of technology is very important. Why? Because if we are going to use something, universalization of education must be fulfilled. The motto and the commitment of the government is to make sure that access, equity and inclusion is possible through education. Therefore, whatever we are using must be that all sections of society, all levels of society, whether it is primary education, whether it is school education, higher education, whether it is any other kind of professional or technical education, every aspect must be equitable for all. And no part or section of society can be excluded through the use of technology. And which is why the issue of the digital divide is such a raging debate even now. Whether technology is able to include or exclude is something that is talked about by scholars, by researchers, and the idea of technology should be not to divide but to include. There are very many research studies which have been done on this topic, and I would suggest to you all to also read them and to see, so that you have a better understanding of the technology and its usage in education. At the end of the day, the idea is that learning outcomes should be achieved, and technology then becomes a way and means by which these learning outcomes can be achieved. And so, whether it is the preparation of material, whether it is printed material, whether it is material which is through the electronic media, the idea is that they should facilitate, they should help, they should support learning. In the last 1 year, which is 2020, when the COVID took place, you saw that technology was being used. In fact, it was the only way in which communication through teaching learning was taking place. And whether it was online learning or webinars or use of the web, it was all technology based. Even traditional face-to-face universities, schools, primary schools, they were all compelled to make use of technology, and therefore now we are at a position where we can better understand the use of technology for educational purposes. And now once schools start again and universities come back to their face-to-face mode, it is necessary to understand that a balanced media mix should be used for making sure that technology is able to do what it's meant to do, which is achieve learning for all classes and levels. In this whole gamut, the role of the teacher also is important when we are talking about educational factors. How does the teacher use technology? How does the teacher mix technology in terms of that? Role of educational institutions, whether it is institutions like the Indira Gandhi Open University, which uses technology to a very, very great extent, in terms of making sure that learners have not just print medium, but also digitalized mediums, soft copies, other areas and means such as online platforms like Swayam, like Swayam Prabha, like Gyanvani, like Gyan Darshan. These are all ways and means by which technology is being used to further the cause of education. And at the end of the day, it is the mindset of teachers, learners, community, parents and public at large which is responsible for ensuring that technology is used, technology is made use of for the larger good of the society. Thank you.